Look at this vintage pack of Kent cigarettes from the 1950s. They proudly advertised their exclusive micronite filter. That filter was made of crocidolite, pure blue asbestos. People were literally smoking cigarettes through a tube of deadly microscopic fibers. It seems like a crazy historical mistake, a hazard we've thankfully left in the past. In 2017, investigators found those same fibers hiding in sparkly makeup palettes, generic kids' spy kits, and even Mickey Mouse crayons. These were everyday consumer goods marketed directly to children and teenagers. Most of us walk around with a false sense of security. We assume regulators fully banned asbestos decades ago, ripped it all out of our buildings, and solved the problem entirely. Today, we are doing an audit on this so-called miracle rock. We're going to see exactly how it tricked the world, the corporate cover-ups that kept it on the market, and where it is still hiding right now. To understand the deception, you have to look at what asbestos actually is. It's not a synthetic chemical cooked up in a lab. It's a naturally occurring mineral. It's a rock you can dig out of the ground, pull apart with tweezers, and weave exactly like cotton. At the atomic level, its core building block is highly stable. A single silicon atom bonds with 4 oxygen atoms to form a rigid pyramid called a silica tetrahedron. These microscopic pyramids link up at their corners to form wide, flat molecular sheets. There's a slight atomic mismatch between the layers in these sheets. That mismatch creates tension, forcing the flat sheets to curl up into microscopic scroll-like tubes. Those tiny tubes are practically indestructible. They easily block heat from passing through and remain perfectly stable up to 600 degrees Celsius. In the 1800s, American cities were expanding rapidly. Buildings were made of wood, packed tightly together, and heated with open flames. A single overturned lantern could take out a whole neighborhood. When entrepreneurs realized they had a cheap, flexible rock that wouldn't burn, they started pumping it into residential walls, roofs, and theater curtains. It worked. Fire-related deaths dropped by roughly 80%. It was hailed as a life-saving miracle, which completely blinded society to the invisible damage it was causing to the people handling it. The problem starts when you take this architectural miracle and inhale it. Microscopic dust fibers shoot down your trachea and bury themselves deep inside your lung tissue. Your body treats them like any other invader. It dispatches specialized white blood cells called macrophages to engulf and digest the debris. But asbestos fibers are too rigid and long to swallow. Biologists call this frustrated phagocytosis. It's like trying to eat a toothpick sideways. The macrophages keep trying and failing. In their frustration, they release powerful inflammatory chemicals. Those chemicals damage the surrounding DNA, triggering severe internal scarring, and eventually, clumps of mutated cells we call cancer. By the 1960s, a doctor named Irving Selikoff tracked down the medical histories of thousands of wartime shipyard workers. He proved that massive populations of these men, who spent their days cutting asbestos insulation, were developing severe lung scarring and dying from an extremely rare cancer called mesothelioma. The exact property that makes asbestos a perfect material for a steam engine or a roof, its absolute chemical stability, means the human body has zero capacity to break it down. The companies mining and selling the material knew exactly how lethal it was. In 1974, an attorney uncovered a banker's box of secret letters known as the Sumner-Simpson Papers. These documents proved that massive corporations had been running animal studies since the 1930s, discovering the cancer risks and actively hiding the results. When asked in a meeting why they didn't warn their workers, one company president testified that they saved a lot of money by simply letting them work until they dropped dead. To protect those profits, the industry heavily lobbied regulators for a loophole called the 1% rule. This policy stated that if a product contained less than 1% asbestos, the government wouldn't regulate it at all. That kind of regulatory blindness creates real disasters. The World Trade Center towers were constructed using thousands of tons of asbestos fireproofing spray. When the towers fell on 9/11, the EPA tested the dust using polarized light microscopy, a cheap testing method known to miss the smallest, most lethal fibers. Based on those flawed tests, the government told New Yorkers the air was completely safe to breathe. Nature ignores our legal definitions. Asbestos forms in the ground right alongside other minerals. An entire town in Libby, Montana was poisoned because their local vermiculite mine was contaminated with lethal amphibole asbestos. Today, geologists are finding dangerous concentrations of naturally occurring asbestos blowing across popular off-roading trails in Nevada, completely unregulated. By manipulating scientific definitions and exploiting legal loopholes, the industry built a system that allows a deadly carcinogen to hide in plain sight. In 2024, the United States finally announced a ban on chrysotile asbestos. It sounds like a definitive victory, but read the fine print. That ban ignores 5 other types of asbestos entirely. It gives some manufacturing sectors up to 12 years to actually phase it out, and it does absolutely nothing to address the millions of tons of fibers already baked into our infrastructure. If you have a house built before the 1980s, you probably have asbestos in your floor tiles, attic insulation, or wrapped around your basement pipes. If you leave it alone, you're mostly fine. But the moment those materials age, fray, or get drilled into during a renovation, those indestructible tubes go airborne. We like to assume that public health agencies have mapped out and eliminated the hazards of the 20th century. They haven't. Knowing where the regulatory gaps are and understanding that natural doesn't mean safe is the best tool you have for keeping yourself and your family protected. If you want to help expose more hidden hazards like this, hit the like button and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, what other safe consumer products do you think need a closer look?